Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Authority Edge. My name is Cami Twiggs Taylor, and I'm the director of the Milestone Circles program here at the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center. For those of you who may not know, the Nasdaq Center is a nonprofit improving access and knowledge in entrepreneurship to advance economic progress for all. As you'll see in the chat in a moment, the Nasdaq Center provides programs, resources, and exceptional mentorship to help entrepreneurs fuel prosperity, no matter where their journey begins. Be sure to check out the links and resources shared in the chat. I'm going to launch a few polls to step back and take a temperature gauge on how you all are doing today. We use this information to guide the programs we provide for this global community of entrepreneurs. If there are specific topics or challenges you'd like us to create resources for, feel free to share them in the chat. Just a couple of quick housekeeping notes before we get started. First, let us know where you're dialing in from by dropping it in the chat. We'd love to see where everyone's joining during our time together. Second, we'll have a live Q&A at the end of the event. So please feel free to submit your questions at any time using the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and we'll do our best to get to as many as we can. While you're answering, I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the incredible support of our corporate partners. The work we do at the center wouldn't be possible without the generosity and belief of our partners and funders, including Nasdaq, Wells Fargo, KPMG, JP Morgan Chase, Wilson Sonsini, Walmart, the Marriott Foundation, and BPM. We're deeply grateful for their partnership, and we hope you'll join us in sharing that appreciation. All right, so here's one poll. What's keeping you up at night? Is it finance, sales, marketing, scale, pivot, team, or surviving? What's keeping you up at night? All right, looks like finance, then sales and marketing. All right. Here's our next poll. How are you feeling right now? Are you feeling fearful, anxious, surviving, or optimistic? All right. Wow, looks like many of us are feeling optimistic, wonderful, but also recognize that the other half of us are feeling sort of anxious and also just trying to survive in this moment. All right. Well, we are here for you. Again, check out the resources that we offer at the center, and please don't hesitate to reach out. Well, at this time, without any further delay, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our special guest, Terry Rice, keynote speaker, author, and coach at Terry Rice Coaching and Consulting. Hi, Terry.
There we go. Hey, how are you?
Awesome. Let's get started.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to start with a pop quiz. I'm going to start with a thought exercise here. I'm going to share my screen in a moment, and I want you all to respond to a few prompts I'm going to give you. So give me a moment. You can see my screen right now. And if you'll notice, right before we signed in, I changed my name on Zoom to my Instagram handle, which is It's Terry Rice. So quick thought exercise. We're about to sign on to this event that I'm speaking with all of you at. It's going to be amazing. And instead of having my full name, Terry Rice, I had my Instagram name. Why do you think I did that? Why did I change my name to my Instagram handle? Anyone here can just chime into the chat section here. What made me do that? What's the reason why? What's the purpose? So I'm going to be talking to all you amazing folks. Instead of having my name, Terry Rice, I changed it to my Instagram. I'd be saying to follow you and see your full brand, to advertise your IG account, gain followers and monetization. People can contact you, more relatable. Okay. Yeah. You got it. You're all correct. You're all correct here. Because one thing I'm going to ask right now is if you take any pictures of the slides or anything, please be sure to tag me as well as the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center. And if you don't mind putting your Instagram handle in, that'll be amazing. But what I can do, again, yes, is use this as an opportunity to get in front of you all to say, follow me on Instagram, to say, share your key takeaways, so on and so forth. But what I can also do is turn this into a story on LinkedIn. And what I would do is just give this tip, say, hey, like next time you're going to be attending some kind of event like this, change your name to your social media handle so it's easier for people to follow along, right? Now, what I could do is post that on LinkedIn and say, hey, everyone, next time you're doing it XYZ. Then at the end, I could say, yes, if you're looking for an amazing speaker for your next event, like this off the charts amazing, like 11 out of 10, DM me to learn more about my speaking engagements. So you see what I'm saying? Like this everyday moment that literally just happened 6 minutes ago, 7 minutes ago, I turned that into a LinkedIn post, but also turned it into a way for me to get more business for my company. So that's what I want to show you how to do today. I want to show you how to make social media content creation an integration to your life, not an interruption, but also show you how to do so with strategy that actually helps you build business instead of getting a bunch of followers. So with that, I'm going to share my screen in a moment, but do me a favor as I'm setting that up. Just let me know what social media platform do you use the most? Which social media platform do you use the most as you're going throughout your day? Instagram, what else? IG and Facebook, LinkedIn. You only use LinkedIn. Meta, same thing. Linda, Facebook. Rosa, LinkedIn. Okay. Instagram. Let's see here. Pinterest. Okay. Xfinity Stream. Not gonna go on that. Trying to use IG more. Okay. YouTube. I think that you're the first person to say that, Abby. So the reason why I concentrate on LinkedIn is a few reasons. One is, as per Neil Patel, who's like this digital marketing expert, about 80% of B2B leads, meaning what we're looking for, come from LinkedIn, right? So it's a platform people expect you to have this kind of content on. And then beyond that, LinkedIn is a content deficient platform. What does that mean? It means as a proportion of people on the platform compared to those that are actually creating content, it's very low as compared to other platforms like Instagram or Facebook, where people post everything, including what they had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So there are good reasons to be on other platforms, especially depending on your audience. But the reason why I prefer LinkedIn, and you'll hear me kind of biased towards it, is because of that. That said, everything we're talking about today is applicable to other channels and even real life. What I want you to do is learn how to tell stories that attract and engage your target audience and sell for you so you don't have to. So it's going to be super basic, super simple. I'm going to walk through some slides here. At some points, I will not be sharing slides. I'm just going to talk to you like a regular person. At other times, I will. But one thing I want to bring up is if you have any questions whatsoever, just pop them into the chat whenever you feel like it. I have 4 kids. They always interrupt me. I'm used to it, so it's all good. But with that, let's go ahead and officially get started here. Okay, cool. And then yes or no, real quick. Actually, if you ever heard me speak anywhere before, just let me know. I'm just curious who's in the crowd that I might know. But I'm going to share my screen here. We're getting started. And I'm going to start with 2 powerful quotes, both from Kobe Bryant. The first one is, nothing in the world moves without a story. I love this from Kobe. And after he retired from basketball, he was really focusing on becoming a storyteller by writing books and producing movies and things along those lines. And stories are extremely important. I mean, if you think about it, back in the Stone Ages, that's how we spread information, right? So it's like you're in this cave with, all your cavemen or whatever, and they're going to tell a story. Hey, if you go left, there's food. If you go right, there's a saber-toothed tiger. Pay attention to this story. That's why it's so important to realize that stories are just ingrained in us as a way of receiving information just based on our DNA. Another thing that I like about this, another quote from Kobe Bryant is, channel the villain, unleash the hero. And we'll talk about what that means later on. But essentially, you want to have some kind of narrative arc in your content. Like, what is the struggle that your audience is going through or you've been through? And how can we use that to give them some good information to push through whatever challenge they might have? So that's that. Another fact here, stories are 22 times more memorable than facts. How do you get to 22? It says up to 22. Well, it depends how good the story is, and I'll tell you how to tell good stories. And lastly, facts tell, stories sell. So again, I'm just trying to ingrain in you how important it is to become more charismatic the way you present information, and I'll show you how to do that throughout the day. So what should you expect? I'm going to teach you how to influence your audience through emotion, charisma, and clear messaging. And you're also going to share stories that highlight your values, expertise, and edge. Because one thing you have to realize is Your personality is the only unique differentiator you have for your business. It's not your service, your offer, any of that stuff. I want to show you how to express that more fully, but I also want to show you how to use AI to do that much faster. So you see here on the screen, it says scan this code to grab this deck in AI prompts. I'm also going to put that same link into the chat here, because if you go there, you're going to find this deck. You'll also find these AI prompts, information about me, and some of the cool stuff. So I'll put this up a few times throughout the day, but that's where you can go to get all this content. So take notes on what I'm saying, but don't necessarily take notes on what's on the screen. That will be largely redundant because you can get the deck right now. So about me, I'll go into this to an extent. Live in Brooklyn. I've been writing for entrepreneur.com for the last like 8 years. I'm also a keynote speaker and author. I'm a coach. I've done all this stuff, right? I've been on Good Morning America, Wall Street Journal, worked at Facebook, worked at Adobe. This is not the way I actually prefer to present myself anymore because it's very just like brag, 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 like ego, ego, ego. It doesn't really form a real connection, in my opinion. It shows you who I am, but not really anything about me specifically. It just shows you what I've done externally. And what I'm going to do now is show you a different way of sharing my story. And this is the one that I actually feel more comfortable going with now. So this is the story, what you might see on the outside, my life, right? I got a job on Wall Street, I got married, I'm on Good Morning America, speaking at South by Southwest, being on TV, all that stuff. And this might seem interesting, but I'm not like really rooting for this person, in my opinion. Like nothing's really like, where's the struggle? Where's the conflict? Here's the other part of my story. Unfortunately, for about 10 years, I battled alcoholism. I quit 10 years ago, haven't had a drink since. I got laid off from jobs as a result of that as well. And unfortunately lost 4 family members in the last 8 years, including my father, my son, my grandfather, and my brother. So the reason why I'm sharing this with you, the reason why I'm going so deep is because I know personally the impact it can have when you tell your full story, not just the highlights. And yes, it is painful. Yes, it is challenging. I'm not asking you to express things this dark and just challenging if you don't want to. But what I will say, and what I'll say several times, is that people give you opportunities when they feel connected to you. And one way to form that connection is by sharing challenging moments that you've experienced in your life. So with that, I want to teach you how to do so in a way that doesn't feel like you're just looking for attention or you're like just whining on social media. There's always a problem, so on and so forth. I want to show you how even like small, seemingly insignificant things that happen in your day can turn into a story as well. But again, these stories aren't just being applied online; they're being applied in person as well. So that's what I want to leave you with today: is just the ability to like in the moment come up with stories that can connect you with people. It could be your target audience, it could be a potential client or a business partner. Either way, you're gonna know how to do this. Okay, so where am I in this picture? Where am I? What am I doing? Does anybody know who I'm talking to? Any understanding here? Where am I? Who am I talking to? What's going on? You just see me on this big stage with a bunch of people in front of me. There's a bit of a clue here in regards to where I am, but if you want to think about that, you can go for that too. All right, good answer. I am at HubSpot's Inbound conference up in Boston, and I'm interviewing Kara Swisher. Now, unfortunately, I was planning on meeting her before we got on stage, but I was too cheap to book a good hotel. I got to the venue late, and I barely had time to talk to her. Now, one thing to tell you about Kara Swisher is like she's just like kind of known as being vicious in the tech reporting sphere by going after tech founders who maybe aren't doing things that she likes or attacking reporters who have not done their homework. I was one of those reporters who had not done their homework when I was interviewing her for this event. So I'm like, I'm in trouble. So as I'm walking up to the stage with her to go on, she's on the phone. I can't even form any kind of rapport with her. I'm like, I am in trouble. I'm about to go in front of 8,000 people, and make a fool out of myself. So I had 30 seconds to talk to her. And I said, hey, look, Kara, like I know we don't have much time, but I want to say thank you because I saw a video about you and your father, and you said how kind he was and how, like, years later, you remember how patient he was, how helpful he was, and how loving he was. And I want to let you know that I listened to that, and it gave me a good idea of how I want to raise my kids. So just thank you because your father's actually giving me advice on how to be a better dad to my kids. So just like that, she melted. She like took her phone out and started whipping out like baby pictures and all this stuff. We had a great conversation because I told a story that connected with her, and therefore I did not look like a fool in front of 8,000 people. So again, on my end, I want you to show you how you can just in these moments come up with stories, like not just facts, right? But stories that connect you to other people. And the benefit of this is you can leverage founder-led marketing. Yes or no, have you heard that term before? Founder-led marketing. You probably guessed the meaning of it by putting the terms together, but founder-led marketing. Have you heard of this? Have you leveraged it before? If not, you're about to find the cheapest way to grow your brand online. Cheryl has, a few of you have, cool. Lisa, not quite. Letty loves it, as per her emoji. Never heard of it. Natalie, you're in the right spot. So don't sweat that. You're good. All right. So founder-led marketing, I am going to share my screen again and show you sort of. That's, I appreciate the realness. So essentially, it's when you're leveraging your own brand to build your company, right? And the benefit here is it's going to help you build trust with your audience, also tap into their emotions and distinguish yourself from other competitors, right? This leads to speaking engagements. This leads to podcast appearances. This leads to media exposure as well. I'll tell you another unintended way I use founder-led marketing to grow my business. Last year, I was at an event for my daughter, Lena. She's 9 years old. And my son, Tyson, was just very impatient, trying to like get me to pick him up. So he tried like climbing me essentially, like climbing my legs and accidentally pulled down my pants in a crowded theater. Luckily, my underwear stayed up. So I was embarrassed, but I didn't get angry because I've been very, very deep into my meditation process program. So I wrote a story about that. I was like, hey, here's the real benefit of meditation. My son pulled my pants down. I didn't get pissed, right? So I told a story about that, and I gave a key takeaway or whatever. But then someone from Fatherly saw that post, this blog that, as you can guess, it's about fatherhood, and they ran a story about me. They're like, "Hey, can we feature you in Fatherly?" I'm like, "About what?" They're like, "The pants thing." I'm like, "I've done other stuff too, but that's what they want to talk about." So I was like, "All right, bet, right?" So we do that. So I guess promoted through Fatherly. They have like 3 million followers on social media. And then someone from Google saw it. And they're like, hey, we'd love to have you come talk about at Google about the pants thing. They're like, no, how about you talk about being a parent and a professional? I'm like, that I can do, right? So again, just for me, not being too embarrassed to talk about, my son pulling my pants down on LinkedIn of all places, got me featured in Fatherly, like this blog that's sending traffic to my website still, as well as speaking engagements at Google. I think I spoke in front of like 1,200 people at that point, right? So again, this is why I'm talking about this stuff. That's all free money, all free exposure, all because I know how to do these things by turning these everyday moments into stories that highlight your expertise, your personality, your values, and everything to your audience. This is going to become more important ever than ever in the age of AI, knowing how to tell stories. Because guess what? Anyone can create content right now that sounds smart, right? You just push a button, you say, hey, ChatGPT, write a letter about sustainable recycling, or sorry, write a post about sustainable recycling, give 3 tips on how to do it, and then tell people to book me if they want to learn more about it. Like anyone can do that, right? But not anyone can say, hey, ChatGPT, help me tell the story about my kid pulling down my pants at this event and how I didn't get angry because I meditate. That's going to be the differentiator going forward, right? We're moving away from personal branding, which is canned and easy to replicate, to character branding, which reflects what's going on inside your ethics, your values, your morals, your actual actions, right? So again, we are done with personal branding. That is too easy. You have to focus on character branding. How do you do that? You share your stories. Again, I want to make it easy for you because that's the goal today. Does that make sense the way I'm describing this, right? So we're just finding everyday opportunities to turn into stories, such as changing your name to It's Terry Rice before you log into Zoom, or not getting angry at your kids when you get your pants pulled down and creating content from that. All right, cool. Letty, I dig it. All right, cool. So let me share my screen again and we will keep rocking here. Does anyone know who this is? Who is this person? The singer, Dustin saying Jelly Roll. All right, Justin, you got it. Pamela's a fan. She got an exclamation mark here. Jelly, yeah. This is Jelly Roll. And yeah, you're right. He's an artist. And I was listening to this interview where he said he does not regret the tattoos on his face. He regrets the tattoos on his hands because those are the ones he got when he didn't have any money. And he said they're cheap. I didn't pay a lot of money for them. In fact, one of them he said he paid for with a bag of weed, and it came out looking like a bag of weed. And I think he's talking about this one over here because I have no idea. Like these are bad tattoos. Like honestly, what is that? Like these are, yeah, these are good, right? But like this is just like a huge blob. This is looks like scribbles, and I have no idea what this was. So he's not incorrect, right? What he was saying is like, it's crazy that we'll pay $300 for clothes that'll fall apart in like months, but we don't pay a tattoo artist like 300 bucks an hour to create something that's going to be on our body for the rest of our lives. And when I heard that, I was like, there's something here because I'm very tapped into what's going on inside the head of my audience. And I know one thing they can't stand is when people question their prices. It gets on their nerves to like no degree, right? I know this because every time I post about pricing or cheap clients on LinkedIn, people just go off. So I'm like, all right, I have a moment here to capture that visceral response people get from being undersold, and also like the shock value of me just posting this picture on LinkedIn and then giving some guidance on how to avoid cheap clients going forward. So that's what I did. As you can imagine, I turned this into a post about jelly roll, tattoos, and cheap weed. So I'm not going to go into it too far. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but essentially I was saying, you know, when a client questions your rates, the real question is what they value. And the truth is simple. You don't get the clients you dream for, you get the clients that you tolerate. So don't lower your rates, raise your standards. And at the end, I'm saying, hey, if you're sick of working with people who are cheap, DM me so I can help you. And this post, I want to say, got around like 100,000 views or so. And if any of you have done digital marketing or paid for advertising, you know it's charged on a CPM basis, a cost per 1,000 ad impressions, meaning people seeing it. And on a platform like LinkedIn, that might be like on the cheap end, like very cheap end, like $10 for every 1,000 people that see your content. Now, in my case, I got in front of 100 people, right? 100,000 people for free. So what's 100 times 10? 1,000, right? So I got like $1,000 worth of free advertising because I'm talking about Jelly Roll on LinkedIn while everybody else is using recycled ChatGPT content. So that's the value of what I'm talking about today. Like, it's not just like, hey, I got a bunch of likes and comments. It's like I got $1,000 at the minimum in free advertising. And notice at the end, there's this PS that says, DM me if you want help with this stuff. And guess what? People actually DM me when they see this. So that's the advantage of walking through this process with me. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Terry, well, that's cool, but like, what else can I do with it? Oh, good question, right? So, what I did is I took this same post and I repurposed it into a newsletter that goes out to my audience of, I think there's like 12,000 people on the list. And in that newsletter, I had an affiliate link to this company. I'm not going to, it doesn't really matter what the company is, but through this platform I'm using, it's called ConvertKit. I actually get paid $1.34 every time someone clicks on this link, just clicks on the link, right? And I have north of 10,000 people on my email list. That's a lot of clicks. So I haven't had to sell any of my services or any of my time just by repurposing the story, and then turning it into a newsletter, and then using this affiliate play. I'm getting $1.34 every time someone just clicks on that link, no matter what they do. That's again is the power of knowing how to do the storytelling and knowing how to do so in a way with a strategy behind it. So we're not just like trying to get a bunch of likes and views. We're actually making money and building our business. So with that, I'm going to pause for a break here. If there are any questions, please go ahead and pop them into the Q&A. I'm happy to answer them. If not, I will keep on plugging along here. But that is the goal. And okay, so about a year or two ago, I was made aware of the fact that there's a job of being a prompt engineer, meaning writing AI prompts for ChatGPT or whatever you're using. And I was like, how is that a real job? That's silly. It doesn't make any sense. But then when I started writing prompts, I was like, you know what? This actually is a real thing. So late last year, actually the entire Q4, I was staying up to like 10, 11 o'clock at night, learning how to write prompts, waking up at like 4:30 in the morning, writing some more. And I just loved it. I loved every minute of it because like I'm a parent. I have 4 kids. I've never been able to work this efficiently and this quickly in my life. So for me, it was worth like staying up late and learning how to do that because now my days are pretty chill. I still work out 5 times a week. I'm there for like an hour and a half. I take naps during the day. I create content all the time. I get to connect with my friends and family during the day too because I'm not so stressed. It's because I'm using all these prompts that I'm talking about today. There's a question here. Terry, please remind me, where did you submit your article regarding fathering and meditation? So, Natalie, I didn't submit the article. Fatherly reached out to me. And that's one thing I should bring up. All the press you've heard me talk about, I've never submitted any PR pitches whatsoever. I've never tried to get press from a company directly. I've created content that I know won't be boring, but I've never had to pitch anyone to get on like Good Morning America, Wall Street Journal, like all the things. Like I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but it's like I've never pitched anyone for PR. I just put out content that I know people want to hear or see, hopefully. And as a result, that's how I've been able to get these deals. So you don't have to pitch anybody when you're putting out content that these people are looking for in general. There are some questions here. I love this one. How far in advance are you planning your post content? Weekly, monthly? I don't plan it sometimes. I hate being that guy who says that. I just don't plan. I have like ideas that I'm working on, and the way I write is like I'll have an idea, and like as I'm going throughout the day, I'm kind of building on it, but I'm not necessarily like bulk creating. I should. For my newsletter, I just recently started bulk creating that newsletter because I want consistency there. But I don't plan. I have a plan on what I'm promoting and what I want to do, so I'm not lost there. But it's very spur of the moment. I'm just very clear on like what I want to do. But I should be planning it more. Question here from Letty. What is the best social media resources to make money on that I love and see value in? Um, I like the platform. It's called Stan because you can sell digital products as well as coaching. If you go to that document that I shared with you, you'll find links to it at the bottom. But really, you got to think about what's best for you, not for me, right? Because it depends on your business. You know, I sell products and services. If you're selling like some other different solution, there might be different platforms you should be on. In some cases, like Pinterest might be the best spot, right? Or YouTube or TikTok. So really, it's all about you. What I would recommend you all do, please write this down and DM me if you have any questions or just email me, is create an empathy map for your target audience. You will see one in a moment, but that empathy map will tell you where your audience hangs out on social media. So just yes or no, we'll get there in a moment. But does anyone know what an empathy map is? And we'll get there in a moment regardless. But does anyone know what an empathy map is? Question here from Sam. Are we gonna have access to your recording by any chance? I don't know. I'll let the Nasdaq team chime in. But Sam, thanks for the good feedback because that tells me you're actually enjoying this. So hopefully you do. But we'll find out. What's the rule of thumb to post on LinkedIn or IG? I don't know. Depends on your audience. And that's the thing. Like I don't give blanket quick answers because I have no clue and I don't want to mislead you. So again, for me, it's mostly LinkedIn. But if you're more of a lifestyle business, could be IG. It's just for me, it's harder to get reach on Instagram. All right. I'm also saying, did you do a newsletter with just one article, or did you have a bunch of stories together on which platform? My newsletter is normally going to be one theme, and everything in that newsletter support the theme. So in this one, it's going to be about like, you know, like not wanting cheap clients. And then what I do by design is I have a spot called Terry's Recommendation Zone, where I can always plug whatever I need to that is not even contextually relevant necessarily to the remaining part of the newsletter. So that way it's modular. Okay. I'm gonna answer one more question. Okay, cool. Thanks, Ivan. Um, Someone saying, as a new consulting startup, how would you suggest founders start making money? If you are brand new to consulting and you've like never made a dollar online, here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to spend a lot of time creating a website or coming up with like what color brand you're going to have, what your themes are, anything like that. What I want you to do is get crystal clear on what you do and who you do it for. What I'd recommend is you can look up Alex Hormozi has a free training on how to create the perfect offer for your audience. Watch that video and then get an offer ready for your audience. Then start reaching out to people that you know. Reach out to people you know and say, hey, I have this new service. I do this to help this audience. Do you know three people who might be interested? And do you mind introducing me? That's it. Get your offer ready and then reach out to people in your network and just say, do you know three people who might be interested in this service? And do you mind recommending me? That's all you gotta do. Don't like start dancing on TikTok. Don't invest a bunch of money in a website. Like, don't do any of that stuff. All because like the thing with like promoting yourself on social media is like you're reaching out to a cold audience and you're asking them to trust you. And you will build that trust over time, but you got to get your pants pulled down. You got to talk about jelly roll. It's going to take a while, right? So that said, reach out to people who already know you first, right? That your ex coworkers, your cousins, whatever. Then you borrow their trust to connect with their audience, and that's how you grow faster. So yeah, don't do all the other stuff. Like you waste your time. Like do it later, but first just like get some clients coming in. All right. So with that. good questions. And wait, there's another one that came in, I think. Yeah, the free training is from Alex Hormozi, Hor Mozi, Mozi, and it's called the Perfect Offer. So I would just find that online. It'll take you like half an hour to go through it. But yeah, do that. Okay, now I am going back to my deck. Give me a second here. Cool. So with that, I wrote this post about Jelly Roll, made a bunch of money, got coaching clients, so on and so forth. And from here, I want to show you the exact prompt that I used to create this. It's not rocket science. And you have access to this prompt in the workbook I gave you, by the way. This is the exact prompt I said. Write a post about valuing your talent. Use Jelly Roll the rapper as an example. Then I talked about that interview that he had, and then it said give them tips on how to avoid it by setting standards, and with a hook to DM me if they want better clients. So really, all you need is the topic. Again, what does your audience care about? Your audience, get clear on that. The story, Jelly Roll and weed. The lesson, and a call to action. This is all I put into ChatGPT to create the post that you just saw back here that got 100,000 views, a couple hundred likes, 100 comments, so on and so forth. This is all you got to do, right? But the story is the most important thing is for you to be mindful of these stories as they're coming to fruition around you, right? So 3 simple steps. Again, be mindful. Recognize the stories that are already around you as the raw material that you can use to create amazing content that shows your personal experience as well as your perspective. And then turn those stories into content that educates, entertains, or engages your audience. In the first case, I was talking about Jelly Roll. With the example I gave earlier, it's about how to show up more effectively when you're doing Zooms, and then leverage AI to make it so much faster. That's all you have to do. And as a result of that, you can grow much faster and leverage founder-led marketing. So the storytelling equation, right? Storytelling equation, sorry, 3 steps. The first is authority, and then adversity, and then audacity, right? So we're going to walk through this. When we're talking about authority, we're talking about charismatic authority, right? Which is based on your qualities, right? So the leadership style is going to be your dynamic personality. And examples could be Jocko Willink, The Rock, or Jessica Alba, right? These are celebrities, these are influencers that use their brand to build their story and their authority. But here's the thing. Empathy is the precursor to charisma. So you can't lead or inspire people that you don't understand. They wouldn't fall for it. You wouldn't connect with them whatsoever. And that's when we enter that empathy map that I talked about before. So an empathy map is very similar to a persona, except you go deeper into your audience's psychographics. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What are they seeing? What are they hearing? And what are their pains and gains? So again, on my end, one of their pains is they are sick of clients trying to undersell them, right? Trying to get a discount all the time. So since I know that, since I know how visceral and salient that is in their mind, I know, hey, if I create content like that, it's going to get their attention. But then I can help them with this content that's going to help them avoid these cheap clients. So I'll give you an example of that. This is the pain points, right? What are their emotional struggles? They have anxiety over taking big risks or making big rules, or making big moves. They're struggling with self-doubt or imposter syndrome. They have time constraints, lack of resources, so on and so forth, and they dislike clients who question their rates or ask for a discount. So again, since I know all this stuff, SWOT analysis, yeah, okay, Philly, you get it. This comes from UX. This comes from the UX world, right? So when people are designing a website or an app, they build an empathy map to understand how the user is going to go ahead and navigate it and what they're looking for as well. So I'm borrowing best practice from UX and I'm moving them to like digital marketing, storytelling, whatever you call it. Yeah, but you have it down correct, Billy, right? This is all part of design thinking, actually, if you want to go deeper and borrow more from UX. If you understand design thinking and empathy maps, then you'll have a much better understanding of who your audience is and can test and iterate more products and services that might help them too. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm not an expert on UX, so don't ask me any more questions about that because we are at the tip of my knowledge. But again, you understand how the process works just by crawling inside the head of your audience. Yes or no, would you be interested in creating an empathy map for your audience? Would that help you if you knew what they were thinking throughout the day, what their reservations were in regards to buying your products or services, or even what social media channels they were on? Right, I'm getting a lot of yeses here. Awesome. Guess what? You can do that for free because again, like in that workbook that I gave you, if it's not there already, I'll just throw the prompt in there real quick for you to build an empathy map for your audience. And this is not just for you to tell better stories. You might find you're making better products or services, or at least changing the way that you describe them, right? Because what you can do is make your empathy map for your target audience and then say, okay, based on this, like bring in your sales page for your business. Based on this, what else could I add to my sales page to make my audience feel seen and heard and like I'm the perfect person for them to work with, right? So maybe you have better questions like, are you struggling with this, or this? You get that from the pain section of their empathy map. Would you like to have this, and this? You get that from what they're looking to gain in their empathy map. So again, they're like, wow, this person really gets me. Like they're saying it better than I can, right? So that is the advantage of having this empathy map for your audience is again, you can crawl inside their head, but then reflect that back in your messaging. Right. So super clear, super easy. It'll take you like 2 minutes to do. Like literally 2 minutes. I'm not joking. Okay. So the action item for you is to create an empathy map for your audience and then determine who the enemy of your audience is. And then tell stories that show how you're capable of fighting them on their behalf. Right. So channel the villain, right? That's the enemy. And I think I have it on this letter here. Yeah. Nope. Back here. I'm afraid to go back. Channel the villain, right? That's all like the pain they're going through, the struggles, the frustration, and then unleash the hero. That's the information, the services, the products that you're giving to help them. All you got to do. It's really simple. So, who is the enemy of your audience? And it can be applied in many different ways, right? So, again, like I said, I have 4 kids, and one thing I struggled with was giving my kids baby food because, like, they hated it, and they'd always throw it all over the ground, so on and so forth, to a point where my daughter Lena she would only eat avocados. And I'm like, yo, that's too expensive. We got to figure something else out. Like, you can have some bananas, but I'm not buying you avocados. I love you, but I'm not like avocado level yet because I was still early in my career. So again, the enemy of parents is bad baby food, like baby food that their kids are fighting about, they're throwing on the ground, so on and so forth. So I can say, hey, parents, are you sick of your kids like throwing food on the ground, refusing to eat when all you're trying to give them is a nutritious meal? I am too. That's why I invented Terry's Tasty Baby Food. There you go. You know what I mean? So it's like, who is the enemy of your audience? Go fight them on their behalf, right? That's all you have to do. Then you become their hero. Channel the villain, unleash the hero. That is you. That's all you have to do. I know I keep on saying it very, binary. It's not simple. But I think we overcomplicate some things sometimes when really you're better off just mastering a very simple process of achieving your goal. And that's what we're doing right now. All right, so with that, I'm going to keep rocking and rolling here. And here we go, right? So the AI advantage, again, scan this code. I'll give you a link to create your own empathy map. But again, this stuff is going to be really clear, really easy to do. So just scan that or use the link that I provided. I see people talking in the chat. Okay, cool. We're just giving some good luck here, or praise here. Sweet. All right, cool. So the next thing is adversity. And I love this quote, like you don't really know a person until you've seen them under pressure because often online people try to project this like perfect image of themselves. Like my life's been perfect. I've done this perfect, blah, blah, blah. Everything's coming up roses, so on and so forth. And the problem with that is, first of all, they're lying. No one has that perfect life. Second of all, perfection is the enemy of connection, right? Because if you're looking at someone to help you, to guide you, even a product or service, you want someone who's been through what you've been through, right? And if they're so perfect, they can't relate to you. You know what I mean? It's like you see this happen sometimes where, or maybe you don't, but let me tell you what's happening. Sometimes like a new creator will come on a platform like Instagram or Threads or LinkedIn, and they'll blow up within minutes. And they're like, oh, follow my plan. Okay, their plan is they had an audience elsewhere, right? Like a million people on some other audience. It's very easy for them to grow real quick. You want someone who's struggled as well. That way you're going to learn from them better because they have techniques that are more applicable to your situation, right? That's the best way to do it. So again, online, don't worry about being perfect. I hate when people do that. Like, I've done this, I've done that. Especially when they say, like, I'm a sought after speaker, but you never see them speaking anywhere. I'm like, why are you so hard to find if you're so sought after? Like, why are you so hard to find, right? So we want to look out for story inflation because that actually decreases your trust, right? So we want to tell real, raw, authentic stories that show who we are and what we've done. But you don't have to make yourself seem perfect or so polished, right? I don't care where you went to college, what your GPA was, so on and so forth. What are you doing now? Stop reflecting on the past, right? Like You've probably heard that quote before, like use the bees, don't make no honey, right? So don't talk about what you've done before, talk about what you've done now. And that's how you'll stand out more, but you don't have to be so polished. It makes you more relatable. Again, that's why that adversity part is so important. So with that, I'll share a few quick stories about adversity that I shared online. This is my first apartment here in New York City. I lived here in this apartment. And at that time, I was doing well enough, believe it or not. But then I got laid off from my job on Wall Street. So I was out of work for like 5 months. I was behind on my rent. My electricity got turned off. My Wi-Fi got turned off. So imagine trying to get a job in 2009, one of the worst economies ever, when you have no electricity or internet. And I had $1,000 to my name. But instead of actually paying my rent for 1 month, I signed up to take this digital marketing course at a local university and eventually got certified as a Google marketing expert and got hired by Adobe, making six figures. So I went from having $7 in my pocket, I'm not joking, to making six figures in a period of 5 months. So I told that story of adversity on LinkedIn. And I said, hey, the gamble paid off. I landed a job at Omniture, which eventually got acquired by Adobe. So my stock converted to Adobe stock. Within 5 months, I went from having $7 in my pocket to earning a six-figure salary with a growing stock portfolio. And then I gave some kind of like lesson here. So with that, I mean, this got like 500 likes, a couple hundred comments, so on and so forth. This literally took me 4 minutes to write, and I booked 2 podcasts from it within 24 hours of being published. 24 hours, right? So it reached a lot of people. So, that's part of it. But again, it took me 4 minutes to write. And I'm just sharing my story that I've told a bajillion times before because I think it's a good story, right? So again, people give you opportunities when they feel connected to you. If I didn't admit that I was out of work for 5 months, that I couldn't pay my rent, that I had seven freaking dollars to my name, this post wouldn't have happened. And those hundreds of thousands of people who saw my post would never see me either, right? That's why you can't talk about boring basic stuff, right? You can't say like, yo, here's how to raise your prices. Here's how to get clients. Here's how to, okay, we get it. Cool. Even if you are saying that, tell a story about how you did it or one of your clients did it or a case study. Just tell a story about it so we can wrap our heads around it better. And that way you get more people engaging and actually enjoying your content. So with that, I'm going to keep on rocking and rolling and give you some more information here. So really the formula here, let me go back. Yeah, is authority times adversity equals authenticity. So it creates this raw, compelling authenticity. Authenticity, that's a hard word to say. And again, it's not about perfection, it's about genuine connection. So I'll give you some more tips on how to do this. I do want to save time to answer questions. But the action item here is to jot down 10 challenges that you overcome or unique experiences that you've had and how they relate to your area of expertise and or topics you want to talk about, right? So the more stories you have in your story bank, the better. And that way you can decide how you want to leverage them going forward. But the thing is, if you take these stories and you store them in ChatGPT or Claude, whatever you're using, it'll pull from these stories anytime you're creating content, should they be a good fit. So I want you to create a story bank. And when I say story bank, don't write like the whole story. It may take you forever. Just enough information to remind you of what story you can tell and therefore stand out more on social media. Does that make sense? Like we have to have these stories in advance. That way you're not just sitting there saying, what should I talk about? Like you want to have them ready in advance. And you all have amazing stories that every time people tell you, they're like, oh my God, that story is so great. So I want you to get used to doing that, right? And as a result of that, like it just makes it like 20 times more easier to create this content. Okay, so we're plugging along here, jot down those challenges. And again, here's the prompt that you're going to also have in your workbook. So scan this if you want to. But again, all you have to do is put in your topic, what your audience wants to learn, as well as your personal experience, and you're good to go. Like that's how you can create this content this quickly. That'll sound like you because it's your story, but it'll be a lot easier to make just because again, you're using AI to your advantage. All right. The last one is audacity. And this is the part that people have the biggest problem with. People sometimes they walk up to me, they're like, Harry, like, I just don't know how to post like you do. And I'm like, I'll teach you how. They're like, no, I don't mean like, how do you actually say these things online? And I was like, well, listen, I know that it might be uncomfortable sometimes to share things about the losses that you've had or like the confusion you went through. But my goal is to get paid for who I am, not what I do. I'll say again. My goal and your goal should be to get paid for who you are, not just what you do. But if you don't share who you are, it's not going to work, right? You're just another vendor out there. And vendors are very easy to ignore or replace. When people actually like you and respect you as a person, that's not going to happen, right? But you have to have the audacity to stand out and say these things. So what this normally comes back to is getting very clear on who you are as an individual, right? When I do coaching, there's a three-step process. One is you get very clear on your identity, right? Who are you? What lights you up? What are your values? What are your ethics? What are your morals? Like, what is uniquely you? And how can you express that? After that, it's the vision. All right. Okay, you know who you are. You're clear on your talents, your purpose, your goals, and everything. Now, what's the vision? Like, what do you actually want to do with this talent you have and this ambition? So it's identity, then vision. The last thing is rituals. Okay, great. What's the lifestyle that you can create to support that vision? So it's very simple. I mean, I've interviewed so many like wealthy celebrities and like entrepreneurs and all this stuff. It all comes down to the same thing. They got clear on their identity. I want to become this type of person. They got clear on their vision, so I could do this. What are they going to do their future? So here's what I started doing. I want to be this person, so I could do this. Here's what I started doing. It's basic. Every self-improvement book you've ever seen in your life follows the same basic process. I'm just making it sound clearer because I know it's a three-step process, right? So, anyways, you have to get clear on who you are first. In that workbook I gave you, the first assignment has nothing to do with creating content whatsoever. It's about getting clear on your identity. And that's probably going to be the hardest one because you have to do some deep digging, some inner work to get that clarity. But once you do, you're like, all right, now all I have to do is be myself. Well, hell, I can do that. You know what I'm saying? But you have to have the audacity to do so. So with that, I'll show you a few examples of that because I don't preach stuff that sounds good or looks good. I just tell you what's working for me as well as my clients and my colleagues. So here we go. Audacity, this willingness to take bold risk. What does that look like? Well, for me, I told the story of losing my son for the first time on stage. It was in Boise, Idaho in 2023. And I just felt compelled to do so just because of the atmosphere of this audience and just like some people I talked to before. I just felt like, now's the time for me to really come forward and talk about, who I am, not just what I do. And was it scary? Yeah, I was just trying not to cry the whole time, to be honest, because it's the first time talking about it publicly. But I made it through it, and that was just by far the best presentation, the best keynote I ever delivered, because I was finally myself on stage without hiding something, right? Without hiding something that was very personal to me, that was very painful, but also made me. And from that moment, I just started showing up more fully online in real life, and things have just become so much better because I'm not hiding something. I'm getting more opportunities. I'm able to honor my son in a way that respects him. And yes, it was uncomfortable, but I'm just so glad I'm doing it because I can help more people when I show the real version of myself, not the ChatGPT version. That's what I'm asking you to do as well. That's one example. Here's another. One of my goals was to lose weight. So in early 2023, I was like, you know what? I wonder what happened if I just worked out a little bit more, ate more protein, and stopped eating ice cream. I wonder what happened if I did that. So over the period of about 5 months, I went through a transformation and I shared it on LinkedIn. It got like a couple hundred, people chiming in or whatever. Because again, my goal is to show I'm not just talking about this stuff, I'm actually putting in work. But for me to post a picture of myself on LinkedIn, like shirt off, 45 years old, is that easy? No, it's uncomfortable, especially, before. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like putting this picture up is how I got more brand deals from lifestyle companies, is more people, as well as people reaching out to me saying, like, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. How are you 45 years old? You have 4 kids, you have a podcast, you're a public speaker, you make courses, you're an author. How do you do that and work out? I want to know more about your lifestyle. Oh, that's great because I can coach you on that too. So me being more upfront and open about my lifestyle opened up another revenue stream for me because I also do lifestyle coaching where I help people design their lifestyle to get goals like this. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing because I'm sick of looking at myself, and I think a few questions came in. It's hard not to eat ice cream. Yeah, Joyce, like I was going through it. Like it was like this pattern that I got into actually after I stopped drinking alcohol because alcohol breaks down into sugar. So I was like, oh, where's my sugar? And I started eating ice cream. So just that one crutch, like literally I was eating a pint of ice cream a day, is what derailed my efforts at the gym because I was still working out, to be honest. Like, and it kind of like maybe there's a story within a story here. I was still working out quite often, even leading up to like losing that much weight. I was eating too much ice cream. So the moral of the story could be like, you can put in like all the effort, but if you're not like maintaining yourself afterwards, then it ain't gonna work out too well, right? So, anyways, enough of me, more about you. What I would tell you is this, your stories are your only unique differentiator. So do not let the fear of other people's opinion hold you back from claiming the recognition and rewards that you deserve. And when I say the fear holds you back, one of my buddies, Dr. Michael Gervais, he's a high performance psychologist. He said, you know what? The greatest constrictor of human potential is the fear of other people's opinions. So he has a book about that. Stop worrying what other people think about you, because it goes back to those Stone Ages with the stories, right? If you were on the outs with your tribe, you might die. No one's going to share food or supplies or resources with you. So we're always afraid of like standing out or offending people, because back in the day it could mean certain death, right? But now you're okay, right? You can go to Subway and eat. You're okay. You're not running for saber-tooth tigers and stuff like that, right? So do not let the fear of other people's opinions stop you from claiming the recognition and rewards that you deserve, right? Because they'll either ignore you or they'll support you. No one's going to screenshot your posts and put them in your high school reunion Facebook group and say, hey, look what Terry's doing today. He's stupid, right? No one's going to do that. But you can miss out on the rewards that come from being more authentic, more real, more vocal about yourself and how you can help people, right? So, Letitia, you're saying like, yeah, don't let it hold you back, because how many dumb posts have you seen on social media over the last week or so? Probably a bajillion. Do you remember them? No, right? So, like, who cares if yours is one of them? No, I'm joking. Yours won't be one. What I'm saying is, like, I hear this all the time. People are like, I'm afraid to say this. I'm afraid to say that, so on and so forth. Like, no one's really checking for you that much. Like, unless you're like a huge influencer, like, no one's like really found your content that much, anyways. And if it's bad, the algorithm will punish it by you not getting that much reach, right? Because if no one's engaging with your post because you think it's bad, great. The algorithm is going to say, look, let's not show this to anybody else because this is not a good post. So don't let that fear hold you back from getting the attention that you deserve. So with that, I'm going to put up one more slide that just says thank you. And it's a goal opportunity for you to go ahead and scan the slide one more time. But I think we dropped it in there a bajillion times anyway. So I'm just going to stop and let my buddy Cammy talk so I can get a drink of water.
Ah, that was amazing, Terry. Oh my God. And I see the chat has been ringing all throughout our entire time together. Thank you so much. I think we actually have a time for one last question, if you don't mind. Do
Okay.
you think a business can follow the revenue generating trends and still stand out in a crowded market?
Yeah, just do this. I mean, that's really it. Like that's your and I have more time if you guys have more questions, but like that's it. I mean, do all the right things, right? Get the basic stuff done. But if you're in a crowded market, then the way to stand out is by being unique. And the way to be unique is by telling your stories. You know what I mean? And there's other things you can do too, but like, I don't know what markets aren't crowded either. You know what I mean? It's like if there's more than like three people, it's crowded. So we all have to deal with this. And I think that also speaks to getting very clear on your niche, like who are you speaking to, and or becoming the niche by sharing your own personality, your own content, so on and so forth. So if that's another option to pursue. That's what telling these stories does for you.
Awesome. What a wonderful way to wrap up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Terry, again, for taking the time to speak to our community, sharing your insights, and setting such a great overview. On behalf of the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center and everyone in attendance, we sincerely thank you for joining us. We would also love for you all to join us at our upcoming webinars. You can view the upcoming events by using the link in the chat. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to welcoming you back online very soon.